Okay, so in the last lecture we have seen the photoelectric effect. We have seen the experimental observations of the photoelectric effect, and we have seen that how classical theory is unable to explain all the observed observations of the photoelectric effect. And then there came the quantum theory of light. Okay, Einstein used the quantum nature of the light and applied that quantum theory onto the photoelectric effect, and thereby that photoelectric effect could be completely explained. The next effect, which again raised the serious concern about the classical physics, is the Compton effect. Okay, so what is this Compton effect actually? So whenever a X-ray beam, okay, whenever a X-ray beam is incident on some substance, okay, from that substance, after interaction of the X-ray beam, we generally get two beams. Okay, one is called as a unmodified beam and another is called as a modified beam. So normally it is expected that we should get only an unmodified beam. Okay, but in addition to the unmodified beam, that substance also gives us the modified beam. Okay, suppose that this is a substance in this particular diagram. If you look at this particular diagram, this is a substance. Okay, substance means what? In that substance will be made with the help of large number of atoms. So one of the atom is considered over here, and this is the incident photon, okay, or incident beam. Photon now we know, but classically we have to think in the form of wave only. So suppose that this is the incident wave, okay, of wavelength lambda. After interaction with the target atom, you will get two types of beam. One is called as an unmodified beam with the same wavelength, and you will be getting the scattered beam. Okay, you will be getting the scattered beam, and its scattered beam will have a wavelength lambda dash which is less than the original wavelength lambda. Okay, which is more than the original wavelength lambda, means its wavelength will get increase, frequency will get decrease, and the wavelength will get increase. So this was the observation. Okay, whenever the X-ray photon or X-ray beam interacts with any substance, for example the graphite substance, for example, okay, so we are getting two types of beam. One is the unmodified line and another is the modified line. The difference between these two, okay, suppose that the modified line is having a wavelength of lambda dash and unmodified line is having a wavelength of lambda, then lambda dash minus lambda, because lambda dash is more than lambda, this lambda dash minus lambda is denoted by a letter delta lambda, and this delta lambda is called as a Compton shift. This particular effect was discovered by a scientist whose name is Compton, and therefore his name is given after this particular effect as a Compton effect, and this particular shift is called as a Compton shift. Okay, now the thing is that what is the problem with classical mechanics actually? If you consider the wave nature of the light, okay, if you consider the wave nature of the light, and if this light in the form of wave is interacting with the target atom, actually it is interacting with the target atom means what? It is interacting with the electrons in the outermost orbit of the target atom. Okay, so this is simply the interaction between the wave and an electron. So if you consider the classical physics, that is the interaction between the wave and the electron, then you cannot explain the scattered photon, you cannot explain the scattered beam whose wavelength is longer than that of the original beam. In addition to the scattered beam, actually not only we get the scattered beam whose wavelength is more than the original wavelength, the electron with which the incoming wave has interacted, this electron will also undergo a recoil motion. This electron will also be scattered in the different direction. So how this is happening actually? A wave, if the light is considered to be a wave, it will not have enough momentum. Okay, it will not have, because it will not have enough momentum or enough energy so that this electron should be recoiled or this electron should be scattered. Means it will not have some enough energy so that electron should move anywhere. Okay, but actually after interaction with this particular wave with the electron, we are getting a wave, scattered wave whose wavelength is more than the original wave, and in addition to that, electron is also performing some kind of motion. Electron is not stationary actually. Okay, so this particular observed effect would not be explained in the form of classical mechanics, or classical mechanics does not have any kind of explanation for this. Okay, if a wave has to displace the electron, it need to carry some kind of momentum, but we know that momentum is a property of the particle, it is not the property of a wave. Okay, wave we will have the electric vector, magnetic vector, and its electric and magnetic vectors will be located inside the wavefront. Okay, so what should be the possible explanation for this? So classical mechanics is not having any kind of explanation. Okay, then also we have to use the quantum mechanics only. Quantum mechanics comes to the rescue to this particular explanation, and according to the quantum mechanics, light can be thought of as a collection of photons, and we know that photon is a particle. So if light is thought of a collection of photon and photon is a particle, it will have a momentum. Okay, so the momentum associated with the photon, is given by h by lambda. Now how this formula is coming, that we will see later on. Okay, so h by lambda is the momentum associated with the photon. Okay, now the photon is acting like a particle, and when it is interacting with this particular target atom, means when it is interacting with the electron in the target atom, then there will be the transfer of momentum from photon, to the electron. And after solving this momentum equation, okay, means the incoming momentum and the outgoing momentum, after applying the laws of conservation of momentum, then only we can completely explain this particular Compton effect. Okay, so according to the quantum theory, we can explain the Compton effect, and after applying this particular laws of momentum and all that, we get the expression for Compton shift as h upon m0 into c into 1 minus cos phi. Okay, so h is nothing but the Planck constant, m0 is called as the rest mass of the electron, c is the speed of light, and phi, okay, phi is the angle through which, see, this gives the change in the wavelength expected for photon that is scattered through an angle phi by the particle of the rest mass. So if you see this particular diagram, then this is the target atom or the electron, and this is the incoming beam. When it interacts with the electron, it will be scattered. Okay, so the direction of original incoming beam with the scattered electron is given by this phi, and phi is that particular angle. So you have to remember this. And what is theta? Theta is the direction in which the electron is scattered, So after applying this quantum theory, that particular problem is solved. Okay, so again this Compton shift is independent of the wavelength of the incident radiation. You see, in the right hand side there is no wavelength, right? So this whatever Compton shift is measured, that measured quantum shift is independent of the wavelength of the incoming light. So whether you use the X-ray photon or you use some another photon, you will have the effect. Only thing is that that photon must have some kind of momentum or enough momentum so that electron should be recoiled. Okay, now you see, this is the another diagram. This is the source of X-ray, and this is collimator, so that X-ray photon is going into the single direction. Then there is substance or the atoms, okay, and it will interact with the atom, and you will be getting the scattered beam. So scattered beam is not located in this particular direction, it will be scattered in all direction. Okay, so if you measure the intensity of the scattered beam with respect to this phi, okay, then you will get the graph like this. When phi is 0, you will be getting only one line, okay, unmodified line. So in this direction you will not be getting any Compton shift. Okay, and if phi is 90 degree, okay, then you see there is a unmodified line, this is unmodified line, and this is a modified line whose wavelength is larger than the original one, and lambda dash minus lambda is denoted by delta lambda, that is the Compton shift. Okay, when phi is 45 degree, then this lambda shift is less. When phi is 135 degree, then this lambda shift is more. Okay, so As you increase the phi, then this Compton shift is increasing. Okay, so this is about the Compton effect. Now very important question arises now. What is the light? Okay, so if you see the journey of light, actually starting from the Newton, actually Newton, who was the first man who considered light as a collection of particles. If you remember some of the chapters in the 12th standard, then you must remember that in corpuscular theory of light, Newton proposed that light consists of small particles, and each particles are called as a corpuscles. Okay, so that particular theory is called as a corpuscular theory of light or corpuscles theory of light. But that particular theory was completely rejected by a scientist, Huygens. Okay, and Huygens proposed a new theory which is called as a wave theory of light. Right, so light travels in the form of wavefront. Okay, and then came the Maxwell put the electromagnetic theory of light, and we know that this Maxwell's electromagnetic theory of light is one of the complete theory of light. Okay, means it solves all the electromagnetic problems. There is no problems or there is no anomaly in that particular theory. Okay, so up till now it has been confirmed that light is a wave. It is an electromagnetic wave. It consists of electric vector as well as the magnetic vector. But now, after these black body radiations, after the photoelectric effect, Compton effect, it was realized that light, that particular effect could be explained only if we considered the light as a collection of photons, and photons are nothing but the particles whose rest mass is zero, that we have seen already in the theory of relativity, right? So if you consider light as a photon, then only this photoelectric effect is completely explained. All the observed phenomena in that photoelectric effects are completely explained. Then Compton effect can only be explained if you consider light as a particle. Okay, then only it can transfer some of its momentum to the electron, and that electron might be displaced from its original position. Okay, so there are now these are two contrary sides. In some of the cases you say that light is a wave, because if you consider light as a wave, then only you can explain the phenomena of interference, then only you can explain the phenomena of diffraction. Okay, so interference, diffraction, polarization, all these phenomena can only be explained if you consider the wave nature of light. However, for the completion of photoelectric effect and for a complete explanation of Compton effect, you need to consider light as a particle. So sometimes you call light as a wave, sometimes you call light as a particle. So this is a serious problem actually. What is light? Means a layman person, for a layman person it is a big question that what it should be called, whether it is a particle or whether it is a wave. Okay, so this was the question in the 20th century, and soon it was realized that light has a dual nature. Okay, what is the solution to this problem? Actually nobody could answer this actually, because whenever we call light as a wave, really it behaves as a wave in some cases. Whenever there is a phenomena of interference, diffraction, polarization, light does behave in the form of wave. Whenever you consider light as a wave, then only you can explain the phenomena of reflection, refraction, etc., etc. Okay, all these phenomena cannot be explained if you consider light as a particle. Okay, because how the particle is propagating from one medium to the another medium, that cannot be explained, right? But the photoelectric effect and the Compton effect could only be explained if you consider light as a particle. These phenomena cannot be explained if you consider light as a wave, right? So what is light actually? So it was thought that, it was expected that somebody should come up with a new solution, and he should confirm that whether it is a particle or whether it is a wave. But the solution is again a bit confusing. What is the solution? Solution tells us that light has a dual nature. Okay, so according to the quantum mechanics, according to the solutions of the quantum mechanics, it demands that sometimes light behaves as a wave and sometimes light behaves as a particle. So it depends on the nature of interaction, by which it will be determined whether it will behave as a wave or whether it is behave as a particle. Okay, so whenever we are discussing the phenomena of interference and diffraction, it does behave as a wave. Okay, and whenever there is an interaction of light with the material substance to give the photoelectric effect, Compton effect, etc., then light does behave as a particle. So it is realized that light has a dual nature, split personality. Sometimes it behaves as a wave, sometimes it behaves as a particle. So this is to be understood. Okay, you see in this particular slide there is a different phenomena. For example, reflection. So reflection can be explained only in the form of waves, okay, and can be explained in the form of particles. So here it is tick mark. So reflection and refraction, okay, both these phenomena can be explained by considering light as a wave also and light as a particle also. But the interference can only be explained if you consider light as a wave. It cannot be explained if you consider light as a particle. Similarly, diffraction, polarization can only be explained if you consider light as a wave and not as a light as a particle. Then photoelectric effect is there, Compton effect is there, black body radiation is there, and emission of the spectral line is there. Okay, how the particular substance emits the spectral lines. All these effects can be explained only if you consider light as a particle and not light as a wave. If you consider light as a wave, these phenomena could not be explained. Okay, so there was one scientist whose name is de Broglie, okay, and he put forward an hypothesis. Okay, so up till now we have realized that light must have a dual nature. It sometimes it behaves as a particle and it behaves as a wave. So this was limited to the light only. This particular observation was limited to the light only. Okay, and curious scientists must also ask that, means what is actually its true nature, then means what we should tell, whether we should tell light as a particle or whether we should tell light as a wave. So after some experimentation and after some realization, it was understood that whenever a beam of light propagates from one point to the another point, it behaves as a wave. Okay, and whenever it interacts with that particular atom, molecule, or etc., then it behaves as a particle. So this is the normal understanding, that when for propagation purpose it travels as a wave, and for interaction purpose it behaves as a particle. Okay, so this particular understanding of dual nature of light was only in terms of light. Okay, then there came the another scientist whose name is de Broglie. He put forward some hypothesis. He thought that if light can behave as a particle sometimes, means initially it was thought that light is a wave, but some experiments told us that light behaves as a particle. So what he thought, in the same analogy, he thought that if light can behave as a particle in some situation, why not particle can also behave as a wave in some situation? Okay, so he put one hypothesis, and according to his hypothesis, all the material particles behaves as a wave. These waves are called as a matter waves. Remember that these matter waves are very different than that of the electromagnetic wave. Whatever light or whatever sound wave, see, light is a electromagnetic wave, okay, sound waves are nothing but the mechanical wave. So these are the different kinds of waves: mechanical waves, electromagnetic waves, which consist of electric field as well as the magnetic field. Now we are saying that every material particle will also behave as a wave. Okay, will also behave as a wave, and that waves are called as a matter waves. The nature of matter waves is not known to anybody. Only we have to think that yes, there exists a wave associated with every particle, and that wave is called as a matter wave. Okay, so matter waves are very different than that of the electromagnetic wave or the mechanical sound waves. Okay, now what should be the wavelength associated with that particular particle? Okay, or what should be the wavelength associated with that matter wave? So you see, all material particles such as photons, electrons, protons, neutrons, atoms, molecules, etc., have wave associated with them. These waves are called as a matter waves or de Broglie waves. Matter waves are similar to the light waves which serve to guide the photon. Okay, Matter waves are similar to the light waves, but nature is not similar. Okay, the only it serves the purpose of the path to the motion of the particle, you can say. Okay, just as light wave sets the path to guide the photon, similarly the matter waves will set the path to guide the material particle. Now how we can obtain the expression for its wavelength then? So we know that according to the Einstein we have E equal to mc square. Okay, and according to the quantum mechanics we know that the energy of the photon is given by E equals to h nu. Okay, but by Planck quantum hypothesis, right, we have E equal to h nu, and therefore mc square can be is equal to h into nu. Nu is nothing but c by lambda, so h into c by lambda. Therefore 1c will get cancelled, so m into c will be equal to h upon lambda. And what is m into c? You see that this is the expression for photon, so c is the speed of photon, right? So speed multiplied by mass, so p will be the mass, p will be the momentum, and it will be the momentum of the photon. So momentum of the photon is equal to h by lambda, and the similar expression we use in the Compton effect, okay, to explain that scattering process. So lambda is called as a wavelength. What is lambda then? Lambda is called as a wavelength of the photon, means wave associated with that particular photon, and p is the momentum of that particular photon. So in this way we get the expression for p, that is momentum. And what will be the expression for lambda then? Lambda will be equal to h upon p. Lambda will be equal to h upon p, and we know that p is equal to m into c in case of photon. So if you consider any material particle, then that c will be replaced by v, that is velocity of that particle, okay, or speed of that particular particle. So lambda will be equal to h upon m into v, or h upon p simply. Here lambda is called as a de Broglie wavelength of the particle, okay, and p is the momentum of the particle. M is the relativistic mass of that particle. Here M is the relativistic mass, okay, because whatever particles you see, we already stated that we have to apply quantum mechanics for a particle whose dimensions are very less. Okay, so the particles whose dimensions are very less are nothing but the photon, proton, electron, neutron, etc. So we have to deal with the quantum mechanics for only those particles. So here m is the mass of that particular particle, and we know that electron, proton or neutron, they move with the sometimes relativistic speed. So here m is the relativistic speed of that particular particle. So this is the expression for de Broglie matter waves. Okay, lambda is equal to h upon p, right? If you again solve, then we know that E is equal to half mv square, that is the kinetic energy of any material particle, and E is equal to E into V, that is energy of that material particle will be given by E into V if V is the potential applied. Okay, so you can consider that there is an electron which is ejected from the cathode material and it is traveling towards the target material, just the case in the form of X-rays. Okay, it is colliding with the target material, so the traveling electron will have a kinetic energy half mv square, because it will only have a kinetic energy. Therefore E is equal to kinetic energy, and since it is accelerated towards the target material by applying some potential, so potential applied is given by capital V. Okay, so E into V is the energy of the electron because of the potential, right? Potential applied. So if you solve this particular equation, you get the expression for momentum as under root of 2m E into V, under root of 2m E into V. So P square will be equal to 2m E into V, and if you put this expression, if you use this expression into this de Broglie wavelength, lambda is equal to h upon V, so h upon mv. So instead of mv you can write, see, mv is equal to 2m E into V, so under root of 2m E into V, and if you put the values of mass of electron and charge on the electron, then you will get the expression for expression for lambda as 12.27 under root of upon under root of capital V. Okay, so with this particular formula, actually this particular formula is applicable for the X-ray production. So if you are targeting, or if you are colliding electrons with the target material, what should be the wavelength of the emitted X-rays? If you want to calculate that wavelength, then you just put the value of potential difference that you have applied into this particular formula. You will get the wavelength associated with electron, okay, or X-ray photon, right? So what we have to understand up till now, or what we have to remember, is that like light sometimes behaves as a wave and sometimes behaves as a particle. So light has a dual nature. We have stated that because of some observations, by observing some of the experimental facts. Okay. Similarly, de Broglie thought that if light can behave as a particle, every particle can also behave as a wave. Okay, and the wave associated with that particular particle is called as a matter wave, and the wavelength of that particular matter wave is given by lambda is equal to h upon p. Okay, where p is the momentum of that particle and p is equal to m into v. So you see there is a wave everywhere. Okay, in the nature, whatever substances you are watching, okay, all these substances behaves as a wave. Now if you see this particular formula, lambda is equal to h upon mv, if you consider v is equal to 0, then lambda is infinite. Lambda is infinite. If you consider some value of v, then you will get some positive value for lambda. So stationary particle will have matter waves associated with it whose wavelength is infinite. Okay, and therefore we remember that particular thing as a particle only. Okay, but if that particle is moving with some velocity, it is having waves associated with it also. Okay, so that we have to understand, that we have to digest this particular thing. This is very novel thing. These are very novel output of the quantum mechanics, which was not in case of classical mechanics. Okay, तर आतापर्यंत आपण बघितलं की फोटो इलेक्ट्रिक इफेक्ट बघितला, आपण ब्लॅक बॉडी रेडिएशन्स तर बघितले, फोटो इलेक्ट्रिक इफेक्ट बघितला, मग कॉम्प्टन इफेक्ट बघितला, जिथे की आपल्याला कळालं असं की लाईट जो आहे तो इलेक्ट्रोमॅग्नेटिक नेचर जर आपण कन्सिडर केला लाईटचा, म्हणजे लाईटला जर आपण फक्त जर वेव्ह समजलो तर मग ते इफेक्ट काही एक्सप्लेन होत नाही. ठीक आहे, ते इफेक्ट तेव्हाच एक्सप्लेन होऊ शकतात जेव्हा आपण लाईटला क्वांटाईज करू, लाईटला असं म्हणू की लाईट हा कंटिन्युअस वेव्ह नाही आहे. लाईट हे कलेक्शन ऑफ छोटे छोटे पार्टिकल्स आहेत आणि प्रत्येक पार्टिकलला आपण फोटॉन म्हणतो आणि त्या फोटॉनची एनर्जीसुद्धा क्वांटाईज असते, म्हणजे फिक्स असते. ठीक आहे, एक तर ही एनर्जी पॉसिबल राहील किंवा त्याच्या मल्टिपलमध्ये वेगवेगळ्या एनर्जीज पॉसिबल राहतील, पण कंटिन्युअस सेट्स ऑफ एनर्जी पॉसिबल नाही. आणि त्याचं नेचरसुद्धा वेव्ह नेचर नसून ते पार्टिकलसारखे बिहेव करतात. ठीक आहे, तर पार्टिकलसारखे जर बिहेव करून जर आपण ते एक्सप्लेन करण्याचा प्रयत्न केला तरच मग फोटो इलेक्ट्रिक इफेक्ट आणि कॉम्प्टन इफेक्ट हे प्युअरली एक्सप्लेन करता येतात, कम्प्लिटली एक्सप्लेन करता येतात. मग आता प्रश्न हा उद्भवतो की कोणकोणत्या एक्सपेरिमेंट्समध्ये तर लाईट हा वेव्हसारखा बिहेव करतो. फॉर एक्झाम्पल इंटरफरन्स एक्सपेरिमेंट आहे, डिफ्रॅक्शन एक्सपेरिमेंट आहे, आणि कोणकोणत्या एक्सपेरिमेंटमध्ये लाईट हा पार्टिकलसारखा बिहेव करतो. फोटो इलेक्ट्रिक इफेक्ट आहे, कॉम्प्टन इफेक्ट आहे. मग नक्की लाईटला म्हणायचं काय? लाईटला वेव्ह म्हणायचं की लाईटला पार्टिकल म्हणायचं? तर याचं उत्तर कोणाही जवळ नव्हतं. खूप दिवस स्ट्रगल करत राहिले सायंटिस्ट लोक की नक्की हे वेव्ह आहे की पार्टिकल आहे, नक्की काय सिद्ध करायचं. ठीक आहे, फोटो इलेक्ट्रिक इफेक्ट तर कोणत्याही केसमध्ये लाईटला वेव्ह समजून एक्सप्लेनच करता येत नाही, कॉम्प्टन इफेक्टसुद्धा एक्सप्लेन करता येत नाही. मग लाईट हे पार्टिकल आहे हे तिथे एस्टॅब्लिश होतात. ठीक आहे, ब्लॅक बॉडी रेडिएशनमध्ये सुद्धा आपण लाईटचं फोटॉन नेचरच अज्युम केलेलं आहे. ब्लॅक बॉडी स्पेक्ट्रम तेव्हाच एक्सप्लेन होतो जेव्हा आपण लाईटचं फोटॉन किंवा क्वांटम नेचर अज्युम करतो आणि तरच ते सगळं पॉसिबल होतं. ठीक आहे, मग लाईट वेव्ह आहे की पार्टिकल आहे हा प्रश्न खूप दिवस चालला आणि मग याचं जे स्मार्ट सोल्युशन आहे ते अशा पद्धतीचं निघालं की मग सायंटिस्ट लोक शेवटी हारून गेले की नक्की लाईट वेव्ह आहे की पार्टिकल आहे. मग त्यांच्याच असं लक्षात आलं की लाईट हा वेव्ह पण आहे आणि पार्टिकल पण आहे. ठीक आहे, लाईट हा वेव्ह पण आहे आणि पार्टिकल पण आहे. कधी कधी तो वेव्हसारखा बिहेव करतो, कधी कधी तो पार्टिकलसारखा बिहेव करतो. जर खूपच लेमन भाषेमध्ये आपल्याला समजून घ्यायचं असेल तर जेव्हा केव्हा लाईट प्रोपॅगेट होतो, एका ठिकाणापासून दुसऱ्या ठिकाणी प्रोपॅगेट होतो, तेव्हा तो वेव्हसारखा बिहेव करतो असं आपण ढोबळ मनाने म्हणू शकतो. आणि जेव्हा केव्हा तो इंटरॅक्ट होतो कोणा पार्टिकलसोबत तेव्हा तो पार्टिकलसारखा बिहेव करतो. ठीक आहे, तर हे आपण असं ढोबळ मनाने असं म्हणू शकतो. पण एक लक्षात घ्या की लाईट हा वेव्हसारखा पण बिहेव करतो आणि पार्टिकलसारखा पण बिहेव करतो. हे डिपेंड करते की आपण कोणता एक्सपेरिमेंट परफॉर्म करतो आहे. म्हणजे हे सगळं काही एक्सपेरिमेंटवर डिपेंडंट आहे की लाईट हा त्या वेळेला तो पार्टिकलसारखा बिहेव करेल की वेव्हसारखा बिहेव करेल. एक्सपेरिमेंट परफॉर्म करण्याच्या अगोदर तुम्ही हे ठामपणे नाही सांगू शकत की लाईट हा वेव्ह आहे की पार्टिकल आहे, तो कशा प्रकारे वागणार आहे पुढे जाऊन. ठीक आहे, पण एकदा एक्सपेरिमेंट परफॉर्म झाला की मग तुम्ही सांगू शकता की तो पार्टिकलसारखा बिहेव केला त्याने की वेव्हसारखं बिहेव केला. ठीक आहे. तर अशाच याला पुढे जाऊन, ठीक आहे, म्हणजे लाईट हा ड्युएल नेचर आहे हे आता सिद्ध झालं, लोकांना समजून पण गेलं की लाईटचं ड्युएल नेचर आहे, तो वेव्हसारखा सुद्धा बिहेव करतो आणि पार्टिकलसारखा सुद्धा बिहेव करतो. मग याच्याच पुढे जाऊन डी ब्रुगलाय नावाचा एक सायंटिस्ट होता, त्याने ह्या आयडियाला म्हणजे क्वेश्चन केलं परत, की त्याला असं वाटलं की जर लाईट हा पार्टिकलसारखा बिहेव करू शकतो तर मग सगळे पार्टिकल वेव्हसारखे का बरं बिहेव करू शकत नाही. तर मग त्याला असं आढळलं की नाही, प्रत्येक पार्टिकलसुद्धा, प्रत्येक मटेरियल पार्टिकलसुद्धा वेव्हसारखेच बिहेव करू शकतात आणि त्यांच्यासोबत जी काही वेव्ह असोसिएटेड होत असते त्याला मग काय म्हणायचं, त्याचं नेचर तर आजपर्यंत कोणाला माहिती नाही पडलं की नक्की त्या वेव्हचं नेचर काय आहे. बेसिकली खूप कॉम्प्लेक्स नेचर आहे, एवढं फक्त लक्षात येतं. तर लाईट हा वेव्ह पण आहे आणि पार्टिकल पण आहे. ठीक आहे. तसाच मग पार्टिकलसुद्धा वेगवेगळ्या सिच्युएशन्समध्ये वेव्हसारखा बिहेव करतो, म्हणजे प्रत्येक सिच्युएशनमध्येच वेव्हसारखा बिहेव करू शकतो. आणि त्याच्यासोबत ज्या काही वेव्ज असतील त्याला आपण मॅटर वेव्ज म्हटलं. आणि मॅटर वेव्सची जी वेव्हलेंथ आहे लॅम्बडा, ती किती असते, लॅम्बडा इज इक्वल टू h/m/v. ठीक आहे, किंवा h/p. तर वेलॉसिटी पुटअप करा मटेरियल पार्टिकलची, तुम्हाला त्याच्यासोबत असोसिएटेड असलेली जी काही मॅटर वेव्ज आहे त्या मॅटर वेव्हची वेव्हलेंथ मिळून जाईल. ठीक आहे. तर प्रत्येक मटेरियल पार्टिकलसोबत वेव्ह असोसिएटेड असते, हे लक्षात ठेवायचं आहे. तर याचं प्रॅक्टिकल डेमॉन्स्ट्रेशन किंवा प्रॅक्टिकल अप्लिकेशन काय आहे, तर हे तुम्ही ऑलरेडी याच्याशी असोसिएट असलेले सगळे डिव्हाइसेस बघितलेले आहेत. जर तुम्ही स्कॅनिंग इलेक्ट्रॉन मायक्रोस्कोप बघितलं किंवा ट्रान्समिशन इलेक्ट्रॉन मायक्रोस्कोप बघितलं किंवा इलेक्ट्रॉन मायक्रोस्कोप म्हणा सिम्पली त्याला, तर इलेक्ट्रॉन मायक्रोस्कोपमध्ये काय असतं, इलेक्ट्रॉनला ॲक्सेलरेट केलं जातं आणि इलेक्ट्रॉनला ॲक्सेलरेट करून तुम्हाला इमेजेस मिळतात. पण आपल्याला माहिती आहे की इमेजेस मिळवण्याकरता तर आपल्याला हेच लागेल की नाही, वेव्ह लागतील. आणि इलेक्ट्रॉनला जर ॲक्सेलरेट केलं तर मग नवीन काय घडणार, तर ॲक्च्युली इलेक्ट्रॉनला अशा पद्धतीने ॲक्सेलरेट केलं जातं जेणेकरून त्यांची वेलॉसिटी एक पर्टिक्युलर राहील. ठीक आहे. आणि ती वेलॉसिटी जर पुटअप केली तर त्याची वेव्हलेंथ तुम्ही काढू शकाल. ठीक आहे. मग वेव्हलेंथ अशी ॲडजस्ट केल्या जाते की ते काय होईल, दोन ॲटमच्या मधून सुद्धा ती वेव्हलेंथ पास झाली पाहिजे, एवढी वेव्हलेंथ ॲडजस्ट केल्या जाऊ शकते. कोणतेही इलेक्ट्रोमॅग्नेटिक रेडिएशनची वेव्हलेंथ वाटल्यास तेवढी आपण ॲडजस्ट नाही करू शकत, तेवढी मटेरियल पार्टिकलची वेव्हलेंथ ॲडजस्ट करू शकतो. आणि मग ह्या पार्टिकलचा यूज करून ट्रान्समिशन इलेक्ट्रॉन मायक्रोस्कोपमध्ये हे इलेक्ट्रॉन एका मटेरियलपासून दुसऱ्या मटेरियलमध्ये आरपार निघू शकतात. ठीक आहे. तर हे आरपार कसे निघू शकतात, तर त्यांना एवढ्या वेलॉसिटीने मूव्ह केलं जातं जेणेकरून त्याची वेव्हलेंथ ही खूप छोटी होईल, खूप लहान होईल. आणि मग जर ती जी वेव्हलेंथ असेल, दोन ॲटमच्या डिस्टन्समधलं जे काही स्पेसिंग आहे, दोन ॲटममधलं जे काही स्पेसिंग आहे त्या स्पेसिंगपेक्षा जर ती वेव्हलेंथ कमी असेल तर काय होईल, ती वेव्हलेंथ सरसकट त्या याच्यामधून पास होऊन जाईल सबस्टन्समधून, आणि मग तुम्हाला इंटेरियर पार्टचं सुद्धा इमेजिंग करता येतं. तर इलेक्ट्रॉन मायक्रोस्कोपमध्ये ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी पॉसिबल आहे. आणि हे इलेक्ट्रॉन मायक्रोस्कोप कशावर पॉसिबल आहे, फक्त लॉज ऑफ क्वांटम मेकॅनिक्सवर पॉसिबल आहे. हे सगळं ट्रू आहे, म्हणूनच त्याचं प्रॅक्टिकल ॲप्लिकेशन आपण करू शकतो. मग आता बघा, मी नेहमीच म्हणतो तुम्हाला की क्वांटम मेकॅनिक्स हे खूप सारं फिलॉसॉफिकल आहे. आता जेव्हापासनं मग क्वांटम मेकॅनिक्सचे असे पोस्टुलेट्स येऊ लागले की वेव्हसारखा पण बिहेव करतो, म्हणजे कुठे पण जाऊ शकतो वगैरे वगैरे. ठीक आहे. पुढे पुढे जाऊन खूप रोमांचकारी याचे अझम्पशन्स आहेत की एकच पार्टिकल इथे पण राहू शकतो, तिकडे पण राहू शकतो. ठीक आहे. मग आपल्या भारतीय लोकांना ते खूप आवडू लागलं, कारण की भारतीय पुराणांमध्ये ऑलरेडी हे सगळ्या गोष्टी आहेत की माणूस अंतर्धान पावतो, इकडून तिकडे जातो, खूप जास्त वेलॉसिटीने जाऊ शकतो. पुढे जाऊन तुम्ही बघाल की मॅटर वेव्स जी आहे त्याची वेलॉसिटी लाईटपेक्षा पण जास्त असू शकतं, हे म्हणजे ॲक्च्युली इक्वेशन सांगतात. तर मग लाईटपेक्षा पण जास्त स्पीडने आपण कुठे जाऊ शकतो वगैरे वगैरे. तर ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टी आल्या त्याच्यामध्ये आणि मग लोकांचा भक्तिभाव वाढत गेला क्वांटम मेकॅनिक्सवर. ठीक आहे. तर भारतीयांचा भक्तिभाव आता आज जो क्वांटम मेकॅनिक्समध्ये आहे त्याला आपण म्हणू शकतो की हे एक कारण असावं. एनिवे, एक लक्षात घ्या परत, आपण आता इथे म्हटलं की प्रत्येक पार्टिकल हा वेव्हसारखा बिहेव करतो. मग असं जर आपण म्हटलं तर प्रत्येक ठोस दिसणारी वस्तू, समजा एखादा खंबा आहे, इलेक्ट्रिकलचा खंबा आहे, तो पार्टिकल आहे. म्हणजे एका सबस्टन्सनी बनलेला आहे आणि सबस्टन्स खूप साऱ्या पार्टिकल्सनी बनलेला असतो. तर आपण जर आता क्वांटम मेकॅनिक्सचा सिद्धांत यूज केला तर मग काय आहे, तो जो खंबा आहे सॉलिडसारखा जो दिसतो आहे आपल्याला, तो सुद्धा एक प्रकारे वेव्हसारखाच बिहेव करतो. म्हणजे वेव्ह आहे, मॅटर वेव्ह असोसिएटेड आहे त्याच्यासोबत. आणि आपण स्वतः, म्हणजे कोणाला असं वाटू शकते की नाही, तो खंबा तो सुद्धा वेव्ह आहे आणि आपण स्वतः ते सुद्धा वेव्हच आहे, कारण की पार्टिकल्स सारखे दिसतो आपण. पण एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी सिच्युएशनमध्ये आपल्यासोबत वेव्ह असोसिएटेड असतात. मग जर असा आपण विचार केला आणि एखादा मूर्ख मुलगा असला आणि त्यांनी असा विचार करून काय केलं की स्वतःला वेव्ह समजून आणि खंब्याला वेव्ह समजून जर त्याने सरळ असा निर्धार केला की आता मी ह्या खंब्याच्या दिशेने पळतो आणि मग मी वेव्ह असल्यामुळे आणि तो खंबासुद्धा वेव्ह असल्यामुळे मी त्याच्या आरपार निघून जाईल, तर असं करणं म्हणजे पूर्णपणे मूर्खपणाच ठरेल. ठीक आहे. एक लक्षात घ्यायचं की हे जरी खरं असलं की प्रत्येक मटेरियल पार्टिकल हा वेव्ह सारखा बिहेव करतो आणि प्रत्येक वेव्ह हा पार्टिकल सारखा बिहेव करतो, तरी सुद्धा निसर्गामध्ये दोन हे असतात, सत्य असतात. म्हणजे एक आहे भासमान सत्य आणि एक आहे वास्तविक सत्य. तर ज्या गोष्टी आपल्याला दुरून दुरून सॉलिड दिसतात, वस्तूंचं सॉलिडिफाय असणं किंवा सॉलिड असणं हे सुद्धा वास्तविक सत्य आहे. ठीक आहे. वस्तूंचं वेव्ह नेचर असणं हे भासमान सत्य आहे. आणि एक लक्षात घ्या, व्यावहारिक याच्यामध्ये भासमान सत्याला आपण सत्य म्हणत नाही, असत्य म्हणतो. पण क्वांटम मेकॅनिक्समध्ये भासमान सत्यसुद्धा सत्यच आहे, तो सत्याचाच एक पैलू आहे. तर हे लक्षात घ्यायचं आहे. तर प्रत्येक पार्टिकल हा वेव्हसारखा बिहेव करतो हे सुद्धा तेवढंच खरं आहे आणि प्रत्येक पार्टिकल हा पार्टिकल आहे हे सुद्धा तेवढंच खरं आहे. ठीक आहे. तर हे खूप इंटरेस्टिंग फीचर्स आहेत क्वांटम मेकॅनिक्सचे, तर हे आपल्याला लक्षात घ्यायचं आहे. ओके. तर इथे आपण मला वाटते थांबूया आणि मग नेक्स्ट लेक्चरमध्ये पार्टिकल वेलॉसिटी काय आहे, वेव्ह वेलॉसिटी काय आहे हे आपण बघूया. ओके. ठीक.